Good afternoon. How y'all feeling? We got one more of these. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. First, can we give it up for the workers that made this event happen, the hotel and restaurant workers, the stagehands, the electricians, the teamsters, the operating engineers, carpenters, and others. People work hard to make this summit happen, and we appreciate you so much. You know, as I've walked around this building for the last 4 days, it's been impossible not to be struck by the enormous diversity of our labor movement. And yes, I mean race and gender and orientation and identity, but I also mean of sector, of work, of union, of experience, students, non-union workers, unemployed, all under the same banner, and all staking a claim to their part of the labor movement. And we picked up some energy here, some inspiration. We've learned some new things, and it has not always been easy. We've had some tough conversations. We've had some awkward moments. We've disagreed. And let's be real, right? Diversity is hard. But we say brothers and sisters and siblings because we are committed to being family when we're part of the labor movement, which means that even when we are imperfect, even when we disagree with each other, even when we fail in our commitments to each other, that we have love for each other anyway. And when we grow this labor movement, when we add new people to this family, there will be times that are hard, but we're adding, we're not subtracting. Our labor movement is big enough to hold every single one of us. And there are times when it's gonna feel hopeless, but I promise you, the reason why I do this work, the reason why so many of us do this work is because our generation is most prepared to shake off the baggage, to be able to deeply and honestly and sincerely value and love each other and every single one of our experiences in this room. And so when we return home tonight to spaces and work that look a little bit different than what we experienced here, we're all gonna face renewed challenges as we seek to build a labor movement and an economy that works for all of us. And we're gonna need our family when we run into those issues. And we've stressed over the weekend that your stories were central to this development of this summit. And we wanted to walk away with a collective story that binds us together, that binds us into that family. And we're gonna do that in a number of ways in the weeks and months to come. But this video is our very first effort.
I'm not from a union household.
And this is my first time being a part of a union.
I did not grow up in a union household.
Well, I'm a third generation union member.
And I'm actually the first of my family working in a union shop.
I'm the first woman secretary-treasurer.
I've never been part of a union before. My father was the local president.
I come from a union household.
I actually got involved by my mom.
My mom told me if I'm gonna do one thing, you're gonna go to college. My way of escaping being poor was to go to school.
We're actually the first generation to have college loan debt supersede credit card debt.
You know, being a young worker in this economy, it can be scary.
I saw firsthand how manufacturing slowly was going away.
As a young worker, I had to work 2 jobs to get by and pay my bills.
I started getting more involved in the union because I wanted to know honestly where my dues money was going.
And I didn't exactly know how to fight back, and then I found out about the union.
When we're advocating for higher minimum wage, paid sick days, collective bargaining rights, it's helping people who are like me.
It's about showing people who may be resistant to change.
There's a stigma.
I can't tell you how many times I've been called a thug, which is hilarious to me because I'm a tiny little flight attendant. I don't think thug is an appropriate term.
Some guy that's just on your shift and he's never met you, but he knows that you're not being treated fairly. He's defending you, and I strive to be that, and I became my shift shop steward.
Seeing the issues I have and seeing that it's so many people here banding together from all walks of life, there's hope.
The time is now for us. This is our turn to take over.
We need to be those leaders.
I see a great future.
I'm fighting for this harder than ever.
We can make a change.
I'm so excited to be here, and I'm excited about the young workers and what we're doing.
These are your stories. So without further ado, we're going to kick into our last piece of the program, and I'm happy to introduce the Western representative for the young worker groups on the Young Worker Advisory Council, and a worker out of the IBEW, Chelsea Nelson.
My name is Chelsea Nelson, and that is a bright light. I feel sad, kind of, a little emotional. Not emotional because I'm a woman. I feel emotional because there's so much in my heart right now. I'm sad that this is ending. I'm inspired. I feel empowered. I feel ready. I feel good and sad. So I am a member of the YWAC, and being a member of the YWAC is a true honor. It is a true honor because I'm in a position where I can help change. But we're all in a position where we can help change. I'm also a member of IBEW in Seattle. And it just so happens that I am a lover of art, all kinds of art. I love music. I love self-expression through fashion, through style. I love to write. I love to read. I love to go to the museum and look at paintings and sculptures, and I just love art. I love art because it connects us to each other. It connects you to me, and in turn, it connects me to you. For example, a few years back, I remember being in a room with my conservative brother, and we're hanging, we're like, listening to music, and the song Same Love came over the radio. After the song, he came and he put his arm around me and he said, those are the words I've always wanted to say to you, I just didn't know how. I was thankful in that moment for art because it connected us. Art enables us to expose and express our hearts, and when our hearts are expressed and exposed, change can happen. It has to happen. Art gives a voice to the voiceless, power to the powerless. Art has transformed people, and it has definitely transformed social movements. Although I don't remember the first time I learned about civil rights at school, I do remember the first time I went to a civil rights museum. I walked through the museum and I felt compelled, I felt connected, something happened in my heart. I was looking at pictures, like real pictures, photographs. I was listening to the music of the times. And as I was connecting to it in that way, I was changed. You may not know this about you, about yourself, and you may not know this about me, but we are all artists. We have something inside of us that we want to share. Maybe we don't know how to share it, but we have something inside of us to share. And I think individually and collectively, we have a voice and the world needs to hear it. I have heard from you and I have learned from you this week, and you certainly need to share what's inside of you. In the next few minutes, I think we will be inspired to become the artists that we were born to be, to share the voice that I know is inside of us, because we are going to, again, hear from a veteran artist who was here last night. This guy is changing the world with his art. He is beautifully and masterfully putting words together to tell raw and inspiring stories. And he's putting those words to music. He has co-written many powerful songs. This morning I woke up and I Googled the lyrics to most of his songs, and I was inspired. So, please stand up and welcome to the stage Rhymefest.
How How many organizers do we have here today? Make some noise if you're an organizer. How many activists do we have here today? Make some noise if you're an activist in your community. How many proud union members do we have in the house tonight? Make some noise if you're proud to be in the AFL-CIO. My name is Che Rhymefest Smith, but before I get started with our talk, I have to give thanks to the people who brought us here, to the coordinators. Please give a warm round of applause for Tahir Duckett, who is one of the organizers here. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for, we organize in our communities, and there are people who organize us and organize our events, and these are some of those people. Katie Corrigan, I want to give a warm round of applause for Katie. Prairie Wells and Sarah Whaling. There are also a few notable people that we want to give thanks to. Rich Trumka, who helped organize the event as well. Liz Schuler, and Liz Schuler is the reason we're here. She started the Next Up program, and Tafari Gabray. So thank you, Liz and Tafari Gabray. As organizers and union members and people who are working in your community, there are three things that I believe we all need to take heed of: money, manpower, and messaging. Now, when we talk about money, we have to look at money as a tool or a weapon. Some people weaponize money, and they use it against the unions, and they use it against the communities, and they use it against the best interests of hardworking people. We can use money as a tool, and when we think about money, we can't think about asking for money or getting resources. I mean, you need resources. You need to be able to get your message out, right? And so when we think about how we get our message out with money, we can't think about it as our money. I ran for office. I do all of the rapping and the art. This is true. But I said, man, I can bring art to the community in a creative way and have creative solutions for common problems. So I decided to run for councilman in my community. Well, because I was an artist, the traditional funding wasn't going my way. I wasn't going to get supported by, the people who support average politicians who are lawyers and doctors and officers. So I had to look at another source of how to get money. And then people rappers who I had beef with, who I never thought even liked me, started seeing what we were doing in the community. And then people like Lupe came and said, listen, I'm not going to give you money, but you know what I'll do? I'll do a show, and I'll help you raise money. And Lupe Fiasco did a show for our campaign, and that night was the first time that I ever raised money in my political campaign. Lupe performed, and we raised $20,000. Then, this was a guy, Lupe and I argued back and forth over Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton but when it was time to do community, he came through. Exhibit. I never even knew Exhibit. All I knew was Pimp My Ride and all that stuff. And Exhibit hit me up from LA and said, look, man, I like what you're doing. I'm going to give you $5,000 to your campaign. Before I knew it, George Clinton came in and did a show. Before I knew it, so many artists were pouring in, doing in-kind donations to help raise money that we raised over $100,000 for our campaign. Now, once that happened, then we started seeing the traditional sources of income come in and say, okay, well, we want to support you too. What I'm saying about money is that you cannot look at money that we use, that we need to ask for, as your personal money. As a rapper, it was hard. Rappers, we supposed to be balling. We ain't supposed to ask for money. We got the girls and the houses, supposedly, allegedly. And the hardest thing for me to do was to ask for money. But I realized that I wasn't asking for money for me. I wasn't asking for money for my lifestyle. I was asking for money to help rejuvenate a community through a campaign that was a people's campaign. So I think that as we go out and work and as we raise funds, we have to always look at it as funds for the people, funds for the work that we do. When we look at manpower, as we organize, I believe that everyone has a superpower. Everyone has a special ability. I love comics. I'm really into the comic world. And I believe that we all have a special potential that we can bring forth. And when we look at manpower, you cannot look at manpower as in, if I get all of these people, then it's going to work. I need everybody. You don't need everybody. You need the right people with the right skills. When we look at any revolution, especially in modern day America, any change only came from a few people. You know, Common and I wrote the song Glory, and as I look at the Selma movement, when they were marching on the bridge, it was only about 500 people. Well, imagine how many people actually lived in Alabama that were black. They only got 500 people to march on the bridge, but 500 people changed the world, changed the country, created a movement. There are enough people in this room right now, there's enough manpower in this room right now to change the country. Everyone has a special ability, everyone has a place, everyone has a position. We need to know each other, we need to know what each other do. We need to know what works in Seattle, what works in LA, what works in Chicago, what doesn't work in DC, and we need to put together what works and kick out what doesn't work, and we need to understand that there's enough of us right now to change the situation forever. Manpower is not about how many people you have, it's about the quality of people you have and the position that they're playing. Lastly, messaging. Paul Robeson said that artists are the gateway to truth. You know, Congressman Conyers had been fighting for decades to get a national holiday for Dr. Martin Luther King. And the Congress would deny it, the bills wouldn't pass. But then there was a guy, an artist by the name of Stevie Wonder, who made a song called Happy Birthday. And when that song, Happy Birthday, was connected to that movement that Congressman Conyers had already started, we saw the bill pass and we saw a national holiday for Dr. King. People had been marching for years, hundreds of thousands of people marching against the war in Vietnam. And there was a movement on the ground. But then an artist by the name of Marvin Gaye came along and made a song called What's Going On? And we saw the end to the Vietnam War. Messaging is as important to the movement as the movement itself, as the actions on the ground. What are we telling people? How are we getting our message out? How are we connecting to youth? How are we connecting to our seniors? How are we connecting in a generational movement? See, one thing I see as we look at different movements happening around the country, we see this is the youth movement, this is this movement. But it's all divisive. We have to bring it together. In the song Glory, there's a lyric that says, no one can win a war individually. It takes the wisdom of the elders and young people's energy. Unless we start working together, we can't change our situation, and our messages have to coincide with our movements. The movement is the brand. The message is the calling card, and it has to work in tandem. You know, I grew up, Kanye and I were friends as teenagers, and his mother was very instrumental, Dr. Donda West. She was a Fulbright scholar. People don't know that Kanye lived in China from the age of 5 to 7. He had a full ride to the Art Institute. I had no father. I didn't know what my father was. I found out 30 years later my father had been homeless all my life. My mother was 15 years old when I was born. So basically I grew up with my mother. So when I was in the house with Dr. Donda West, and she created this place for Kanye and I to record music and be in a safe environment in Donda's house, which is the organization that we have now for youth. One day I remember rapping, And I was talking about all the girls I had and all the guns I shot and all the drugs I sold. And Dr. West pulled me to the side and said, "Come here, honey, let me talk to you for a minute." She said, "Now, I don't know a lot about rap." She said, "But is it true?" She said, "You know, Rhymefest is team no judge, but do you really got all those girls, and do you really shoot all those people, and do you really sell all those drugs?" And I said, "No, Dr. West, I'm just trying to do with the radio. The radio, you gotta be hot, you gotta be cool, that's what." She said, "Okay." She said, "Would you feel comfortable being successful telling a lie about yourself? Would you be comfortable if you actually made it based on a non-truth about yourself? And could you live out that non-truth that you told about yourself?" And I said, "Well, I haven't really thought about that." She said, "How old was your mother again when you were born?" I said, 15. She said, She said, "You have a sister, right?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Where's your father?" I said, "I don't know." She said, "All of that is the most prolific rap that I've never heard you say. That's the most prolific story I've never heard you talk about." And Kanye was there watching his mother nurture me and grow me in the same way he was being nurtured and grown. And then when you hear songs like Jesus Walks, when you hear songs like All Falls Down, where he says we're all self-conscious, I'm just the first to admit it, that comes from a raising and a message, a movement. We have to be sure that as we go out and we engage our communities, that we're engaging our communities not only in what we're doing. Sometimes, you know what you're doing is the right thing, but you have to have the right words to articulate it and the right thing to get to youth, the arts and visual and audio and poetry. I tell my son all the time, you have three things in this world. You have quitters, you have winners, and you have champions. Quitters, we don't even deal with those. You wouldn't even be in the room if you were a quitter. Winners, Floyd Mayweather, he's never lost. That's good. I mean, that's really good. He's a winner. Muhammad Ali, he won. He lost everything, and he had to get it back again. That is a champion. Muhammad Ali stood for what he believed in and went from a man who traveled the world to a man who was in a jail cell. Everything gone. Had to come back and get it again. As organizers and as activists, we are going to be knocked down. We're going to have some wins. We're going to have some losses. We're going to be knocked down. But I trust that everyone in this room is a champion. I trust that everyone in this room will get up and will overcome on behalf of the people, on behalf of the future, and on behalf of the union. My name is Rhymefest Smith. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly.
And my name is Lee.
And we want to thank Rhymefest for coming here today, being a part of the Young Workers Conference, and for talking about the importance of the intersection between art and activism.
Absolutely. Give it up one more time for Rhymefest, y'all. In fact, how many of you all were actually in the party last night where he rocked out? That's what's up. That's what's up. So, we really wanted to make sure that before we got out of here, we really kind of drove home the point of all of this and like what we're doing right now. Y'all excuse my phone because y'all noticed my notes. As you may or may not have noticed, there are a lot more cultural elements this year that we infused into the Next Up conference. And we didn't do it just because we wanted to see Rhymefest rock out or just because we wanted to, dance with paint on our feet, even though I'm not gonna front. That was really actually a lot of fun. It was a lot more fun than I was expecting it to be. But we also did it because we realized the importance that, as Rhymefest just highlighted in his speech, the importance that culture plays in terms of our organizing and in terms of our community building. Culture is the thing that helps us to establish commonalities between our communities, and it fosters solidarity all across the movement.
Yes, we want to be clear that art and music and culture is how we build power. We've always used art and music historically through slave songs, civil rights movement, wartime songs and movies. And we use it to tell our story and to define our truths. It uplifts our spirits when we're feeling beat down, and it gives us voice when we're feeling silenced. And we want to point out today the cutouts along the wall of workers. Those cutouts were made by an art activist, Ramiro Gomez, in LA. And he made those for our convention 2 years ago because he wanted to bring attention to the work that we do that goes unnoticed, like sanitation workers, like construction, home health care workers.
Totally. So, not only even just visual art, but also, as we've already seen and heard, all sorts of art, performance art, music, all those things really help. And so, in closing, we called in a longtime friend of the labor movement and all causes progressive to actually come in, and he's been here with us since the Next Up conference began on Thursday, and he's spoken to a lot of you all. He's attended our plenaries and our workshops, also that he could really just kind of immerse himself in this experience so that he could come up here today and stand before you all and kind of give you all back what you have given to him via this conference. So without any further ado, because my time is almost running out, put your hands together and welcome Jasiri X to the stage.
Next up, next up, next up. It's hip hop, so we're gonna have some call and response. Let's go, let's get right into it, you know what I'm saying? Let's get the energy going. So what I want y'all to do, we coming. When I say we coming, I want y'all to say we coming. Y'all can do that? All right, and then when I say we ready, I want y'all to say we ready. We about to get live. I hope y'all didn't have too much to eat. We gonna get it cracking. Y'all ready? Let's go. We coming. We ready. We coming. We ready. We coming. We ready. We coming. We ready. This is our moment, our movement, our time. We want it, we coming, we ready, let's ride. We organize, stakes is high in every hood and state. We ride, defend the dream, the winning team. Malcolm said by any means, 50 years since Dr. King. School of hard knock, took shots in the boxing ring. Studied and we got degrees. Feeling like the doctor sees the block is locked. We got the keys, we got our shot. Cock and squeeze, hit the mark, watch us lead. Prophecy, born in an economy of poverty. Reagan era policies and hustler psychologies. Street corner pharmacies, car trunk armories. New Jack City Carter scenes, yellow tape mark the scene. Mass indoctrination in the mass incarceration. If your school is like a prison, every class is occupation. They wanna say we wrong, they wanna pass it off as hating. If America is beautiful, why she wanna freeze us in place just like Medusa do? We came to turn on the lights, this is our future too. Who is you, we do improve. Movement we was meant to move is what we were created for. We believe we are the ones we've been waiting for. We coming, we ready, we coming, we ready, we coming, we ready, we coming, we ready. This is our moment, our movement, our time. We want it, we coming, we ready, let's ride. We coming, we ready, we coming, we ready. Give it up for yourselves one more time, you know what I mean? Yeah. So once again, I'm so honored to be here. You know, I want to thank the AFL-CIO for having me. I want to thank you all for having me. For those who don't know, my name is Jasiri X. I'm from Chicago. I'm a proud member of the Chicago Federation of Musicians, you know what I'm saying? You know. And I'm really here to honor you, to uplift you, to thank you, you know, because it's the work that you all do off of the job, extra work, going to meetings, organizing, talking to people, those things that you could go home, you could watch, you know, you could get home and, you know, just sit around and watch Empire, do whatever it is you do, or, you know what I'm saying? But you do that extra work, and it's so important, not just to me, because it's the work that you all do every day in organizing that will help make sure my children have a livable wage, have a good job, have health care, have benefits, have a future for themselves. So give it up for yourselves again. So I'm based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I do a lot of work with the unions in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And you know, I never understand, like, huge corporations' problem with workers. I just don't understand it. Because it's like if it wasn't for the work that the workers do, you wouldn't have billions of dollars in profit. We're the foundation for what you do. So why not treat the worker with respect? And so I don't understand this idea of like money over people. And so I did a song in support of the unions in Pittsburgh called People Over Profit. We believe in people over profit. Y'all believe that? So when I say people over profit, guess what I'm gonna need y'all to say? See, y'all sharp. That's why y'all here. You know what I'm saying? Y'all leaders, y'all know. People over profit. All right, I think they got it. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Yeah. Give it up for yourselves one more time. You know, and if you want to stand up, if you want to dance, if you want to move in your seat, if you didn't eat too much, you know what I'm saying, feel free to do that as well, you know what I mean? We about to rock out, you know what I mean? You didn't expect this at your conference, did y'all? Yeah, I see you bobbing your head. Let's go. We pick people over profit. A man is worth more than the paper in his wallet. We want people over profit. A woman is not an object or the change in the wallet. We pick people over profit. A man is worth more than the paper in his wallet. We pick people over profit. A woman is not an object or the change in the wallet. Now when the blue collar, mean you lived in true scholar. Cause your billionaire employer was giving so few dollars, you barely had food or water. And if you speak up, they wanna make you a martyr. And if you tell your story, they trying to sue the offer. And take away what little you have, these dudes are monsters. Money, money, money is all they choose to honor. They just want our blood, sweat, and tears, they use the marker. But today we getting smarter now. Today we getting smarter. We organizing, we unifying, we unionizing. We working together to make it better for ourselves. Make some noise. We pick people over profit. A man is worth more than the paper in his wallet. We pick people over profit. A woman is not an object or the change in her pocket. We pick people over profit. A man is worth more than the paper in his wallet. We pick people over profit. A woman is not an object or the change in her wallet. One is for the money, two is that we came to show. Three is that we getting ready for this momentum to grow. No longer will we be working poor. What we worth is more. We coming 10,000 deep to your service door. Tell the purchaser that we got a purpose for every woman and man that you scam to their purchase tour. We gonna organize until we jam your circuit board. You gonna hear us in the penthouse when the workers roar. Make some noise for yourselves, man. Whether you from Chicago, DC, Atlanta, Baltimore, New York City, make some noise. Yeah. You can fade that out. I feel your energy. Y'all sitting down, but y'all very energetic. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate the energy that you're giving me. Say next up. Next up. So, like Lee said, I've been here the whole conference. It's funny, I tried to actually leave on Saturday and my flight got canceled. So that was like a higher power saying like, no, you're not leaving. Like, you gonna stay here. And so I was able to rock last night. Who came out last night? We had fun last night, didn't we? They had to kick us out, right? We was like, no, we ain't leaving. We want to stay here all night. So I'm thankful. And, you know, I was inspired by, you know, the speeches from Liz and Rich and Carmen and, you know, Dante and Angela. And I was inspired by the different workshops that I went into and just the regular conversations that I was having with people in the workshop discussions, in the plenaries. And just afterwards, you know, just walking and meeting people and talking, and you're in line for coffee. And so I hope, you know, you came in here, or you're leaving here with a new friend, a new close associate, somebody that can inspire you and help you and work with you. And so I wrote an original piece, just detailing my experience here. Can I share that with y'all before I go? Yeah. So I'm gonna have to read it. I'm gonna have to come over here and read it. I'm a good rapper, but I'm not that good. I can't memorize something in a day. But I really wanted to share something that will encapsulate what I felt. It's called Our Generation. Our generation will make sure that people that want to be employed will be employed. And not only have jobs, not only have careers, not only are able to unionize, but that they will make a livable wage. Our generation will make sure that not only are women in positions of power, women are leading the movement, women are running the company, women are elected to offices, but that women get equal pay. Our generation would not allow Trayvon Martin, Rakia Boyd, Ayanna Jones, Tanisha Anderson, Tamir Rice, Jesse Hernandez, and Anthony Robinson to be murdered and their killers not be held accountable. Our generation will have more than just conversations about race, about gender, about orientation. We will dismantle the institutions that were built on privilege and patriarchy and build better ones because black lives do matter. Our generation will not incarcerate black people, incarcerate brown people, incarcerate poor people, incarcerate children, incarcerate mothers, destroy families, but never incarcerate bankers, no matter how many billions that they steal. Our generation will not deport brown people, deport black people, deport poor people, deport children, deport mothers, destroy families, but never punish big business, no matter how many jobs they send overseas. Our generation will care for the sick, care for the young, care for the elderly, care for the disabled, care for those with diseases, care for those with mental illness, care for those with physical limitations, and we will not ask if you are insured or not. Our generation will give infants a head start, will give children a quality education, new books, clean desks, working lockers, no bars, no metal detectors, no zero tolerance, good guidance, college prep. We will bring back the trades, bring back art, bring back music, and pay our teachers what they deserve. Our generation will not privatize schools, privatize prisons, privatize hospitals, privatize the military, privatize government. We will make corporations pay the taxes that they owe, pay the workers what they owe, pay the country what they owe, and we will repeal Citizens United because corporations are not people. People are people. Our generation will organize our homes, organize our streets, organize our blocks, organize our neighborhoods, organize our workplace, organize our towns and cities. We will register and exercise our right to vote, and we will never let anyone take our power away. Our generation will not allow petty squabbles, ego, envy, jealousy, team light skin or team dark skin. Whose idea was it? Who's the leader? Who's on MSNBC? Who has more Twitter followers? Who liked your Instagram picture? Who tagged you on Facebook to divide or prevent us from reaching our goals? Our generation will rebuild Selma, will rebuild Ferguson, rebuild Sandy Hook, rebuild not gentrify the south and west side of Chicago, rebuild not gentrify New Orleans, rebuild not gentrify Harlem, rebuild not gentrify Brooklyn, LA, Atlanta, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., by the people, for the people, with union labor, with a living wage, black, brown, white, Asian, native, all together, one people, one cause, one goal, one victory, one hood. Our generation will fight for freedom, fight for justice, fight for equality, fight for 15, fight for representation, fight for the right to unionize, fight against police brutality, fight against mass incarceration, fight against mass deportation, fight against discrimination, fight against corruption, fight against the 1%, fight for good jobs, fight for health care, fight for benefits, fight to be seen, fight to be heard, fight for those who can't fight for themselves, and fight to make our dreams a reality. Thank you all for having me.
Our generation. Thank you to Jasiri, thank you to Rhymefest, and thank you to you for this summit. Because whose summit? Whose summit? Whose summit? All right. Thank you, everybody.
So Tahir doesn't know I'm going to do this, but we cannot leave this summit without acknowledging this incredible leader of our Young Worker AFL-CIO Next Up program. And he has worked, I'm not kidding you, for the past 6 months of his life as a full-time law student as well, essentially, and gotten the feedback from you. He has worked tirelessly and I think selflessly to promote all of you, your ideas, and I think this summit reflects that. And so I just want to say a huge thank you to Tahir and Katie Corrigan on my team, who have done such amazing work. And I just want to, I guess from the bottom of my heart, Tahir, thank you for your leadership.
Thank all of you. Let's go organize.